Join me today as we talk about Alien Earth Episode 4, as we try to answer pressing questions like, if the Xenomorph could talk, what would it say? Can a cyborg, well, robot, I guess, get pregnant? And if you were to put an incredibly intelligent alien being into the eye socket of a standard sheep, what would happen? We're going to talk about all these today. Join me. This is the Geek Cabal channel. If you've not been here before, my name is Bobbie, and today we're going to be talking about the 4th episode of Alien Earth, which I just got done watching a short while ago on FX. No, they don't pay me to say that, but I just want you to know where, because I always initially thought it was only on Hulu. So, anyway, it's on Tuesdays. So, before I get into the spoilers, because new episode and all that, I am still liking the show. We're kind of there's 8 episodes from what I can gather online. This would have been the 4th episode. So we're kind of in that lull in the middle where we're kind of setting up what's going to happen at the end. Now, I saw an episode of Joe Bob Briggs' show. For those of you who don't know, he's he used to be like a late night host. Originally was on I don't know if it's the movie channel or Cinemax, and he would host movies on the weekends, horror movies, low grade movies basically a lot of times. Now sometimes they were quality, and sometimes they all have a quality of their own. But he would talk about movies, and then eventually he shifted over to TNT and had Monster Vision. And there was one episode in particular where he was playing the movie Big Trouble in Little China. By the way, if you've not seen that, excellent movie, Kurt Russell at his finest. Not saying that's Kurt Russell's finest movie. I'd be hard pressed to actually say what that is, in my opinion. There's a lot to choose from. He's an excellent actor.
Hey, what more can a guy ask for?
However, he was basically breaking down the movie, talking about the various parts of the movie. And for that movie, the lull in the middle is where the exposition phase came in, which was basically where the characters sit around and talk about the plot and try to bring the audience up to speed so they know what on earth is happening. Now, I don't think we're there, because I don't think this is going to be an exposition type show. We're getting exposition, but I don't think we're going to have some middle dump of information. This is just kind of moving the things around on the chessboard so that we can approach the denouement, if I remember correctly, which is not the climax. No. Well, I really should look this up before I started this example. I believe, and I'm probably going to get this wrong, so bear with me, I believe that the climax is where the action reaches the climax. And then the denouement is the after, the last few minutes where things are kind of resolved. So we're moving the pieces in place so that we can begin building towards the climax. Something definitely happened in this episode that's going to build us towards that for sure. And I suspect some other things have already begun that are going to lead us to that as well. And then the last few minutes of the last episode will be the denouement. Again, if I'm remembering those things correctly. So, so that's basically where we are. Things are kind of at a lull, but things are moving. They're moving slowly, but they're moving. And pieces are being moved around. We're getting a feel for the characters here. And we're trying to begin to answer what's probably the actual question at the heart of this show, which is, are the Robo-Kids are they themselves, or are they just robotic copies? Because this episode really tries to start driving home the point that one doesn't necessarily imply the other. And so that's a lot of where things are moving as far as the main plot. Then we have the background plot. A lot of the characters get some moments in this episode, to the point that I actually bothered to write down almost everyone's name, because we're going to talk about all of them. So, I still think the atmosphere and everything is pretty good in the show. We all know what's going to happen once the Xenomorph in the lung hatches. It's going to be chaos and mayhem, because that's what always happens, because every single person in every single one of the Alien franchises that tries to control this thing, it comes back to bite them in the ass, metaphorically or literally.
She'll breed. You'll die.
And I do not foresee any difference here. It's just a matter of who all is going to get sucked into the chaos and die. And again, probably get nuked from orbit. So, that's most of what I can say without going into heavy spoilers. So, still giving it a thumbs up. Definitely sticking around for the final 4 episodes. Really hope it doesn't just fall off a cliff at the end, but, I don't think it will. Ridley Scott's one of the producers, so, And hopefully he actually had input, isn't just there for the paycheck. But I think he actually cares about the series, so, I think at his age, because he's in his 90s, I think he understands, the concept of legacy, and I think he knows that, of the movies he's made, yes, there's a lot of excellent movies to his name, but, this is probably the one that will forever be tied to his name. So, anyway, that's just a theory. We'll have to see. But, yeah, so if you're bailing out here, thank you for watching. Appreciate all the YouTube or Twitter, it's not Twitter, or TikTok stuff, because I think Jim puts all these up on TikTok as well. So for those of you seeing this on TikTok, thank you for watching. If you're going to stick around for the spoilers, here they are. So, we start off with Wendy she's reactivated at the end of the last episode. She had basically fallen over in the lab because she could hear the Xenomorphs. And they were screaming at her or something. So they're trying to figure out why she can hear them. And they eventually isolate the sound. They bring her hearing back online and kind of isolate it. And whenever they're doing this, the main head of Prodigy is in the room. They have the psychologist leave the room. Let's see. She is Sylvia. And they just have the technician, that's her husband. And then there's the main CEO. There's his kind of consultant. I don't know what this guy's actual role is. Seems to be the steady hand to try to keep him kind of in touch with reality. Adam Ines is his name. He's an older gentleman. He has a little bit more of a role in this episode too. And then also Curly, who is the girl who wants to be the number one. And so they're all there in the room, and they start to bring the sound up, bring her hearing up until she can hear it. Then they push it to see how far it can go, and then back down. And then the head of Prodigy turns over to Curly, who is a little bit of a funny scene. He's like, "Hey, go over there and push some buttons. Look like do something." And she actually throws a switch on one of the big control panels. The whole thing starts lighting up and everything, and it looks like the 70s. Blinking lights everywhere kind of aesthetic. And she real quickly shuts it down because she realizes she has no idea what she just flipped on. Little bit of levity, But, yeah, so he turns to her. He's like, "Can you hear anything?" And she's like, "Maybe." And he's like, "Don't tell me what I want to hear. Tell me the right answer." And she's like, "No, I can't hear anything else." So then he gets Wendy to replicate the sound that she's hearing. And this was an interesting moment because it showed how he views them, kind of, and how he might want them to view themselves. Because it didn't just stop with, "Can you make the noise?" She's like, "Well, no, I can't." He's like, "No." He's like, "It's here. It's in your memory core. Just imagine that your mouth is just a speaker, and you're just putting the sound through it." And so basically, he's trying to tell her, "You're a robot. Act like it." So she's able to replicate the sound. She has no idea what it means. None of them do. But her brother seems very weary about all this. He's there in the room too. Joe. So, yeah, so then they kind of go about their business. And old Adam Ines has a meeting with Joe and explains his choices. And he's like, "Well, you do work for us, but we need you to do another job now." And because he asks him, "So is she my sister?" And he's like, "Well, that's the $1 trillion question now, isn't it?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, your sister's a prototype," and there's a little bit more conversation there. And he's like, "She's potentially the prototype that's going to lead us to be able to lead humanity into a transhuman future, where we leave our animal cells behind and morph into our transhuman cells. And so potentially becoming immortal." and, being worth trillions of dollars as a technology. He's like, however, kind of critical question we need to answer here now, isn't it? So we need you to figure this out, because you're closest to her is the implication, so he would know. And he's like, well, I don't want to do that. He's like, I quit. And I'm like, well, I mean, you can, but you got to understand, this is a secure facility. We can't let you talk to anyone else. We'll have to hold you here somewhere until we get a shuttle out of here. This is an island in the middle of nowhere. And that lung we gave you, obviously, you get to pay for that. We'll send you the bill. And you'll never see your sister again. And he's like, okay, well, I guess I'll work for it. And he's like, oh, excellent. He's like, so when can she come home? He's like, oh, there is no universe that ever happens. Like, you need to understand that. She's our property. She's a robot. She's not, that's the way we look at it. So, we get a little bit of the whole transhuman stuff there, and the realization, for the audience here, that, in case you haven't figured this out from the first episode, the question is, are these the same people, or are they just copies in a machine body? And some of the other people are starting to wonder that too. The main technician kind of comes at his wife. Is like, we're not done yet. We don't know if we either potentially have, the best case scenario is maybe we've got a bunch of AIs running around thinking that they're human, and the worst case is we killed 6 kids. So yeah. Things are taking an interesting turn there. Then let's see. Nibs. She is the girl who the little eyeball thing tried to attack, and who in the last episode had a major crisis of identity.
Who am I?
It was seeing her younger self in the mirror, and was poking her eye to prove that it's fake. She comes to the psychologist and is like, guess what? I'm pregnant. The psychologist is like, what? Her husband's like, you can't be pregnant. She's like, why not? Well, because you're a robot. She's like, well, I'm not a robot. Why would you say that? And the psychologist's like, well, I think you meant something else. Well, let's talk about it. So they go to talk about it, and the psychologist tries to bring it back around to what happened on the ship. She's trying to get her to open up about it, and she won't. And then she attacks the psychologist. She leaps across the couch on her. And I think that's the moment the psychologist realizes, oh, that's right. These are children in super strong, indestructible bodies. Whatever could possibly go wrong? Yeah. So she calls security, subtly as a button, and locks them down after trying to explain to her that she can't possibly be pregnant. So, yeah. They realize that maybe they didn't cover some things whenever they, convinced them to do this. Then we have Curly. No, sorry, I talked about Curly. Toodles. I believe it's Toodles. I had to look up their pictures and everything to make sure I got the right names. He is assisting Kirsch, Timothy Olyphant's character, in trying to examine the other aliens that came. So they run an experiment where they let the little eyeball thing into a cage with a sheep, and it latches on and scoops out that thing's eyeball and attaches to it and runs its tendrils into its brain. So they've got a brain scanner running, and they notice that the gamma waves increase dramatically. And Kirsch points out that's problem solving and things like that. And he deduces this is a very intelligent creature. And so presumably his next move is try to interact with it on some level, but he doesn't figure out how to yet because it's in the body of a sheep. So Toodles decides that he wants a different name and has chosen the name Isaac. And he's like, I'm an adult now. I'm helping you here in the lab and everything. I should have my own name. And Kirsch is like, okay. So he chooses Isaac, named after Isaac Newton. And so then he runs into Slightly, who is the one that Morrow, the cyborg, implanted the thing on him so he can communicate with him. And Morrow is trying to get Slightly to steal one of the Xenomorph eggs. And Slightly's like, well, I can't. There's too much security and everything. And so Morrow comes up with another plan. He goes to Slightly's parents, because Slightly told him his real name, finds his mom, and the implication is obviously he's going to harm and or kill her if he doesn't cooperate. And so he tells them, okay, you can't get the egg out, that's fine. Get a person into the lab. Not a robot, but a person. And then he walks through what's going to happen. And he gets to the end, and Slightly's like, well, what's going to happen to him then? He's like, well, they're going to have a real bad couple days. It's like, well, he's not lying, but he's not telling the whole truth, obviously. What the two of them don't know is that Kirsch has figured out what's going on, and he's listening to the conversation. And so the last we see of him is he's in there pondering what to do with the eggs, because they don't react to him because he's a robot. But now he knows for sure what'll happen. And I think he's plotting and scheming now. Then, I forgot to mention, whenever old Adam Ines was talking to Joe, he tried to explain like a business concept to him. He's like, we need to know if this works or not, because we don't want it to be a blanket with sleeves. And he's like, what? He goes, it was a product people designed that apparently no one wanted. So I'm not going to lie. Of the things I expected to encounter today, a joke about the Snuggie on Alien Earth would have been at the bottom of the list. But man, that definitely made my day. It brought a smile to my face, I'm not going to lie. So, let's see, is there anything I missed here? No, I think I covered what happened with basically everybody. So, end of the episode. Wendy is going to check out the Xenomorph that's implanted in the lung, and she can hear it, and she's responding, and it hatches. And Kirsch is watching this, and the baby Xenomorph is on the table, and is kind of eyeing her, but it's not going after her because she's a machine. But she starts talking in its language and communicating. I think she's just recycling the noises, but it's kind of chittering back at her. And it lets her get close enough that she can actually like touch it and pet the elongated head on top of it. So I don't know where that's going. I think they borrowed that idea from some of the Dark Horse comics, which I didn't read the series, but I watched an info dump video kind of explaining it. There was a point where they brought a queen to Earth in the comics, and it was able to psychically contact people to come and break it out. So they're either going off that, or they're going off Alien Resurrection, where Ripley, being a hybrid of the Xenomorph, though mostly human, could hear them in her head.
I can feel it behind my eyes.
And so the implication was that's how the aliens communicate, because they don't have no spoken language or anything. And she mentioned she could hear them. So it might be going off that. I don't know. It'd be interesting if they pulled anything from Alien Resurrection. I think it's more likely from the Dark Horse comics. But anyway, so that happens. And that's kind of the parting shot. I missed the, hey, here's what's coming next week. So I don't know if it answers any questions that we had here. But yeah, so... Okay, so for my speculation, I think the eyeball alien is going to try to find some way to communicate, and maybe in exchange for a host body or something, it might try to warn them about the Xenomorph and the complete threat that it represents. We still haven't seen much from the other aliens.
Well, we're waiting!
And then, so hopefully that's not just wasted potential. I'd like to see those. Then Slightly, I think, is contemplating taking Joe to be the old sacrifice to the Xenomorph egg. Which, if that happens, that will be an interesting scenario where we'll have technically two Xenomorphs from the same person. Because the one hatched out of his lung, and then if the other one comes out of him, an interesting scenario I've never contemplated. Also, he kind of blew up whenever he saw Joe there, because he's like, oh, what about the rest of us? We've got brothers and sisters, and because this is after Morrow threatened his mom. And so he's real bent out of shape about that. And yeah. So I don't know how far Kirsch is going to let all that play out, because I know from trailers that I think Morrow is going to lead a team to the island. And the Xenomorph is definitely going to get out because there's shots of it in the jungle. So, have to see what happens there. I really hope that Wendy doesn't somehow tame the Xenomorph. Because otherwise then I am going to be wishing that the nukes fall. But that is also something that kind of happened in one of the comics. This one I did read. It was Alien vs. Predator, Deadliest of the Species. The end of this comic is just total like Alice in Wonderland Bizarroville. You have a king alien that is also really like the mind of the AI aboard the ship, and it uses a facehugger on the queen alien to make like an alien. There's the main woman who dies and becomes a xenomorph, but it's like more human looking and has her features, but she's also resurrected somehow. There's a predator in the mix. I mean, it's just wacky what happens at the end of that book. So, you know, I don't know if we're going to see anything like that. Probably not. But anyway, that's one series that should be adapted. But yeah. So anyway, that's most of what happened in this one. We're dealing with some existential horror, some existential crises for Nibs, who now thinks she's pregnant. You've got Slightly, who is going to betray some people. Curly still wants to be the best girl. Wendy is the best girl and has won back the head of Prodigy's attention. Adam Mines, I don't know, he's only listed for 4 episodes, so I don't know if we're going to see any more of him, because I think he's been in all 4 episodes so far. I don't think Joe's going to make it. I don't think many of these people are going to make it. One of the comments in the last video did say that because of canon, they all have to die. I agree with that in principle. However, the alien universe is literally our solar system. The characters actually don't have to die. They just can't be centered in the events that happen later. They can be any place else in the galaxy, or still on Earth, because this is the only movie that goes to Earth. The only show that's on Earth. They could literally like survive and like go to try to find Mr. Wayland or something, like, you know, or go to try to find the Xenomorph homeworld if there is such a thing, or go to find the engineers, or literally just go off on some other tangent entirely. Like, there's plenty out there that they never have to interact with anything from the movies ever again. So no, they don't actually have to die. Now, if they're not going to do that, you know, I think it's highly probable that they're going to die, but we'll see. But I do think Joe's going to die, and I think the CEO, the head of Prodigy, he is definitely going to die, and it's just a matter of, is it going to be as a host for a Xenomorph or not? Because he's kind of talked about that. Kirsch might make it out, or he could just get torn in half. Or I've got the feeling he's going to go down fighting Morrow, who I suspect is also going to die.
One shall stand, one shall fall.
And yeah, so I think Wendy's the only one I'm putting money on maybe surviving at this point. We'll see. But anyway, that's all I've got on this one, folks. Again, I thought it was another excellent episode. I definitely think that, like a lot of shows that are planned out and, you know, that are through narrative and less episodic, this would probably be better if you just watched it all at once. It's just one long movie, essentially. At least so far, I think that. We'll see. You know, the next few episodes might change my mind, but I think that's the best way to do this. But I'm not going to wait. Plus, I don't know if they're going to run them all on FX, and I don't have Hulu. So, anyway, that's all I've got. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'm mainly making these for YouTube, but whatever you folks over on TikTok also do, appreciate it over there. Subscribe, all that fun stuff. Let me know what you think so far of the show. Are you watching it? What's your speculation for how things are going to go? Yeah, and if you are watching this on TikTok, I always appreciate you jumping over to YouTube and subscribing, and vice versa. At the moment, it's mainly the short form stuff over on TikTok, but Jim is putting some of the longer videos over there too. I don't know for sure which ones. Maybe he's putting them all over there for all I know. But at some point, we'll probably, once we figure out what works better for which ones, we'll probably start differentiating a little bit, and there'll probably be stuff exclusively over there on TikTok and stuff exclusively over here on YouTube. But we're not talking like some huge split. You know, it's going to be a couple things every once in a while and a couple things every once in a while. It'll probably still be the main stuff on both channels. At least that's the way we're talking at the moment. We'll see what happens. But anyway, that's all I've got. So just remember, in space, no one can hear you scream.
Game over, man. It's game over.